You're muted.
Sorry, can you hear me now? Yes. So hello everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today in this webinar. Thank you. We are very excited to have our representatives from different institutions with us. My name is Victoria Barrera and I'm the Education USA Fair Coordinator for the South American Fair Circuit. I'm also the person who has been sending you all those very interesting emails about our South American Fair Circuit. We really hope that this is a very valuable information for you and that you consider joining us this year. Today's webinar is a great opportunity not only to learn more about the recruitment trends and student mobility in South America, but also to get to know a little bit better our circuit and all the opportunities that Education USA offers in our region to all of you. As many of you know, Education USA is your strategic partner in the region, and we are a global network supported by the US Department of State, committed to promoting US higher education worldwide. Today, we are honored to be joined by two amazing regional educational advising coordinators, also known as REACs from Education USA. First, I would like to introduce Rita Moriconi, REAC for the Southern Cone. Rita?
Hi, everybody. A pleasure to be here and see so familiar faces, and thanks for the birthday wishes. It's been, May is always an exciting time. As you know, all the reacts will be at NAFSA for those of you that are going to be at NAFSA, but want to take a minute to introduce our coordinators for the Southern Cone part, and then Anna will be introducing for the Andean region part. So from Argentina, we have here Carolina Talatinian. Yes, she's waving. From Brazil,
Hi, everyone.
we have here Davi Medeiros from the office in São Paulo, Simone Ferreira and Laura Boone from the office in Rio. Jefferson from Brazil is not able to be here with you. From Chile, we have Miguel Huerta from Santiago, Chile. And from Paraguay, we have three fair coordinators here with us today. Alejandra Cunha, Alejandra Talavera, and Naomi Lausiker, and from Uruguay, Scarlett. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Rita. And also Ana Villavicencio, REAC for the Andean region.
Hi, everyone. It's great to see many familiar faces and also names for those that have cameras off. I'm Ana Villavicencio, REAC for the Andean region based in Quito, Ecuador. And yes, I'm here with the coordinators for the Andean region. So just as Rita did, if you guys can just wave, we start with Bolivia. We have Marcelo Saldaña based at the US Embassy. Then we have Lurca Ramirez based in Lima. I saw Lurca. I don't see her on my screen, but hopefully she's waving. And then we have Carolina Romero in Quito and Belén Robles in Guayaquil, Ecuador, both stops. And finally, we have Samuel Reales in Colombia. And I also see Marta Roman. She's based in Colombia as well, in Armenia, if you haven't been to the coffee region. Please do. I don't know if I'm missing any other advisors from my region that are here, but if they are here, that's great that they can join us to support.
Thank you, Ana. Well, I think we can get started. I would like to invite Rita to begin her presentation.
Well, thank you. While I'm uploading the presentation, I just want to share with you one of those moments in life that are special for us, right? So I'm here looking at all of you, and here I see Rafael, right? And he was our Education USA advisor in São Paulo. Now he's working for GW, and it's just so interesting to have that shift, that we all can be all together as a team. Anyway, so let me share my screen. Tell me if you can see my slides. Can you? Yes.
Yes,
All
yes.
right. So, really quickly, and just want to introduce my region. This is the whole South America. These are the Southern Cone countries. Argentina has 7 centers and 9 Education USA advisors. Carolina sits at CRUP. CRUP is the Council of Rectors for all private universities of Argentina. She's the country coordinator. And Emilce, who is the person you're going to be talking to a lot, is at our binational center, and she's the fair coordinator for South America Fair. Brazil, we're right now at 50, right? 50 centers in Brazil, 60 advisors. I always say Brazil is as big as the US if you don't count Alaska. So you can actually measure and see. And in Chile, we have 10 centers and 8 advisors. In Paraguay, we have 4 centers. Right now, 4 advisors. We're in the process of bringing 2 new advisors in. And in Uruguay, 2 centers and 2 advisors. So just giving you a little bit of a snapshot of student mobility in the region, and the Southern Cone mobility. We have 2 top 25 countries. One, Brazil is the 10th sender of students to the United States at the undergraduate graduate level, and then for intensive English programs, the 3rd. And then Argentina is the 19th place in actually receiving US students. So there are a lot of partnerships in Argentina that bring a lot of US students to the country. So this is going to be for Vicky. So I'm just going to start with my countries in Uruguay. Uruguay, why recruit in Uruguay, right? So basically, there was a 7.4% increase in the number of Uruguayan students studying in the US this year, in the Open Doors data. And it's kind of a fantastic outcome. Uruguay has a problem. Students have dual nationalities, and so when they go out, they prefer to go out with their other nationality, Spanish, Italian and whatnot. So it's hard for us to count exactly the number of students that are out. But the families continue to see the United States as the world's learning destination for higher education, research, innovation, and career preparation. And Uruguay is a country that ranks among Latin America's strongest country in literacy, democratic stability, digital connectivity, English proficiency, and educational attainment. Institutions can build brand recognition easily, more efficiently, in Uruguay. Students and families are attracted to academic flexibility, research opportunities, campus life, and especially OPT opportunities, which is interesting that the students are thinking, what's next for me, before evaluating your universities. And they have a growing innovation and technology ecosystem. They are looking for the high quality conversations, right? It's easy to develop stronger counselor family engagement in Uruguay. They are highly educated with strong interest in international study opportunities. They offer less competition, not everybody travels. So the high schools and universities are open for visits, and they can help you establish local university recognition. The small Uruguay academic environment also can help you with partnerships, with local universities, partnerships that in my region, they're gearing a lot to recruitment. And they have government-backed scholarship programs, through the National Agency of Research and Innovation. U.S. institutions can attract fully funded PhD and master's candidates. From those. And now I'm just going to move on to Paraguay, and why choose Paraguay? I have to say I hear a lot from you, and if you've ever been there, please, let me know in the chat box. And the last time, I heard from Mizu and from many others saying, oh my gosh, the advisors in Paraguay were absolutely wonderful for us. We made so many visits. So there's a strong interest in Paraguay from Paraguayan public in studying in the United States, right? So the past 2 years of our fair, we had around 900 attendees. Paraguay has a 15.5% of Paraguay's population age 15 to 24, which is a prime demographic for undergraduate recruitment there. And this data is open doors data, by the way. They have a government scholarship program, the BECAL, that finances undergraduate semester exchange programs, as well as master's and doctor's full programs. And the Fulbright program is a household name in Paraguay for graduate scholarships, with a version of the program named Fulbright Call, because remember the Beck Call? And so Beck Call is the government scholarship. Fulbright Call is a partnership between the Fulbright Commission that's run by the embassy and the program. So this is a little bit of information on the Becal scholarships, and these slides were going to be available to you as well. They also have, I have a problem in Paraguay. I always like to say that. So students get out-of-state tuition waivers if they go to Kansas. So my job sometimes is, hey, there's more to the US, but there is the Comité Paraguay Kansas also that do semester-long exchanges and scholarships. All right, so let's go on to Chile. And it's very interesting. I wish you had that problem. I think that's Miguel's problem. Putting the Chilean map in a screen is a challenge, right? Look at how thin and how big Chile is, right? So why recruiting Chile? It's a high-income regional leader, and a lot of political stability. 2,700 miles is the distance from New York to California. That's, pretty much the country stands out as a top-tier destination in Latin America, driven by economic freedom, advanced infrastructure, and long commitment to sustainability. Chile continues, stable, strategically important, sending country to South America, showing solid participation in degree programs, and love OPT opportunities. So this is interesting data. Chile is an OECD country, right? So 88% of the students in Chile complete secondary education. You heard it right, 88. So the average percentage for Europe is 86, and the average percentage for OECD countries is 85. So it's much higher than other countries in the region. In 2026, enrollment in higher education in Chile reached its highest level in history. Right now it's 1,341,439 students, consider undergraduate, graduate, and postgraduate programs, right? So by type of institution in 2025, universities account for 59% of total enrollment, followed by professional institutes with 30.5% and technical training centers with 10.5%. So that you see the distribution of higher education in Chile. It's interesting also to see that there was an increase of 5.5% in numbers compared to from 24 to 25 on enrollment, at Chilean universities. And by gender, total enrollment by gender, it's also interesting to see it's a 5% increase, then men 46.7% and women 53.3%, So the sectors with the highest economic growth is mining, driven primarily by growing global demand for critical minerals. Environmental market, driven by stricter regulations and the growing importance of ESG criterion investments. Energy sector is expanding in Chile, particularly in areas related to renewable energy, storage, and new clean fuels. Infrastructure projects, also both public and private in areas such as transportation, water. Oops, sorry about that. And urban and technological influence, AI and digital advocates, right? So you should come to Chile because the increased recruitment opportunities and possibility to showcase academic programs, scholarships, campus life, develop partnerships with local schools, strengthen their presence, etc. And like Chile, everywhere in Southern Cone, and I'll say Latin America, I dare say, it's word of mouth, so put your face there. Get families to understand what you want, and then you're gonna get, the students. This is Brazil right now. So right now we're 5 states short in having an advising center everywhere in Brazil. I'm working on that. The last Fall By conference, which is the Brazilian NAFSA conference, helped a lot. Maybe I'll go down to only one state in a short time. We're opening new offices at Senai, Cimatec in Salvador. We're opening at the Federal University of Pará. And we're opening also at Unisenai in Florianopolis. That's where the Fall By conference took place. And I failed to tell you that we're opening also in Chile at UNAB. And so we're in the process of hiring the new advisor there as well. So basically, it's a large growing middle class for Brazil. And there's a lot of focus on STEM, business, and AI. By the way, I just want to say to all of you, anything you want to do with Education USA on AI, contact us, right? Because we're doing a lot, we're pushing a lot, webinars on AI, and trying to help you also of your STEM, and, in particular AI fields. So keep that in mind. We also have in Brazil, in Argentina, and in Paraguay, the bilingual education and dual high school degrees, where normal high schools are partnering with business like Griggs Academy, Texas Tech, Missouri, K-12. And the kids can take classes in English and for 3 years, and then they come up with a Brazilian high school diploma and a US high school diploma. So that's another interesting pool for you to reach out to. There was a lot of fair promotion in Brazil. We had consul generals, ambassadors opening the fairs, and in all Southern Cone countries. And we put you on the news, right? So we get the cases of admissions that we know of, so please share with us. And, it was like being on the NBC News on TV, that was our Consul General in Fortaleza. Yes, Fortaleza, but he's our Consul General in Recife, and Recife oversees Fortaleza, talking on the morning news, about our fair. So that's another thing that, your name keeps being repeated, and that is, apologize, it's in Portuguese. For those of you that do Spanish, you can get by, but basically from Governor's Island to the United States, a person from Rio conquers a PhD with a millionaire scholarship. We love journalists, right? They always want to put it in the high numbers. And then, sorry that I forgot to tell you that I was doing this from alphabetical order U to A. And now we're going to Argentina finally. And in Argentina, we have a very interesting situation right now, right? So it's becoming increasingly important in sectors like energy, mining, agribusiness, fintech, biotechnology, and the knowledge economy. Growth across the strategic and technology-driven industries in reshaping the country's economic outlook and increasing student interest in STEM, business, public policy, sustainability, entrepreneurship, and data-driven fields. So more families, are investing in international education now. There were some economic challenges, and income disparities, but now there's a segment in Argentine families with increasing purchase power and strong interest in global education opportunities. So many of these families, a US degree is viewed as a long-term investment in international mobility, professional networks, career development. And it's very interesting, Carolina, I've observed that when I visit, families want their children to go to job market and make money in dollars. That's very important, right? And so that's a growing demand. And then also there's changing in education landscape, ongoing financial pressure on Argentina's public education system, combined with the rising cost of private education, are leading many high achieving students and families to explore alternative pathways and for academic and professional advancement abroad. And Argentina's evolving economic environment and recent easing of currency, because now it's much more easier for you to make payments abroad in dollars. They made it comparatively easier for families to plan and manage international education expenses. Greater financial flexibility and access to foreign currency are helping some students and families feel more confident about pursuing study opportunities abroad. And highest English proficiency levels in Latin America. So according to the EF publication, Argentina ranks among the top countries in the region for English proficiency. And it was the strong interest in STEM and applied learning opportunities. So when programs emphasize on hands-on learning, research opportunities, access to advanced technology, and many are actively seeking academic environments that combine theory with practical, laboratory-based, and industry-linked experiences. Argentina is a growing market for U.S. higher education in general, and in Open Doors, there was a 7.5% increase. Oops, I forgot to pass the slide. So here we go. Sorry. 7.5% increase. And I have to say that a little tips for you to take the students in our region. People think in terms of financial terms per month and not per year. So if you can break it down and make sure that you're talking to families, and just saying our tuition is X, divide by 12, right? I mean, always refer to that because they're not used to getting figures per year. And of course, if you're trying to reach people, parents sometimes don't speak English. So if you have flyers in Spanish or Portuguese, it's a good way to help with parents. Parents still have a big say. If you see students from these countries, please recommend Education USA, because we prepare students with webinars, talking about the 5 steps of US study, but also helping them be more prepared to talk to you in fairs and whatnot. Okay, and I'm gonna leave that for the last, and this is it. Thank you.
Thank you, Rita. Thank you very much for sharing those valuable insights from your region. Now I would like to invite Ana Villavicencio to share some insights about the Andean region.
Great, thank you, Vicky. Let me just share my screen. Here you go. Here's my presentation. There you go. All right, so now we're going to focus on the Andean region. And to begin a little bit of the discussion, I'll just give you an overview of the region. So again, this includes Bolivia, Peru, Ecuador, Colombia, and Venezuela. And in general, I wanted to put some context on the popularity of studying in the US in the region. Based on the Open Doors numbers that, of course, at this point, they're a little outdated, but it's still worth mentioning that we have about 28% of students from the Andean region. That, when you look at Latin America and the Caribbean, 28% of the students that are in the US are from the Andean region. And then when you look at South America, it's about 50% of students from the Andean region. So all these students from South America that are studying in the US, 50% come from this 5 countries. And that's specifically important to mention, of course, as you see in the map, Brazil is a huge country. You just saw Rita's presentation on 50 centers. So, taking Brazil out of the equation, the Andean region is a major sending region that you should be aware of and put some more emphasis and energy on. So right now, we are undergoing a little bit of a tricky political environment. Both Peru and Colombia are undergoing presidential elections. And of course, that creates a little bit of instability and uncertainty as to what will happen in these countries in the short to medium term, depending on who wins, right? So everything is a little bit on standby in these countries. And then you have Bolivia's that just went through elections and now has a very different type of administration. And as this settling in is obviously becoming, there's a lot of opposition and a little bit of instability as the government settles in new policies. So in general, I'm mentioning this political instability because whenever these type of environments happen in the region, we do see that parents are more invested in sending their kids to study abroad. So definitely, even though there is uncertainty, for example, if you're thinking of doing partnerships or visiting, a lot of you guys are always telling me, I would love to meet with the Ministry of Education from Peru. Well, it is a transition time, so there's a little bit of a standby. But what we are seeing, of course, is that parents, because of this uncertainty, are definitely investing in sending their kids to study abroad. Now, what issue do we have in the region? There is major competition from other countries, and they are recruiting heavily and aggressively in the region. And so the US has lost a little bit of its space of being the number one studying destination. I don't have to think about it. I will choose the US over other countries. I'm sure you're aware of this, and this is something obviously that is happening worldwide, but in the Andean region, we are seeing quite a bit of this. And so that is why it's extremely important for you to have a strong presence. And Rita mentioned this as well, of like coming down and for them to see you and to have a name to the institution and then be able to feel more comfortable choosing you versus another institution. So if you do have some budget to come down, that is great. If you don't have budget, well, we do a lot of things virtually, of course. So aside from that, competition, we did recently in the Andean region a survey to students. We surveyed students in the region about a little bit of their preferences or where they want to study, what they want to study, what concerns they have, what are the parameters for choosing a destination versus another destination, what concerns they have about studying in the US. And it was an interesting result, not too different than what we were expecting, but worth mentioning to you that, of course, we see that students are interested in studying in the US, but they are also interested in studying in Canada as a second option, and the EU. So those are the two main competitors for you. For some reason, all the kids in my region want to go to Portugal this year. And so it's interesting to see new upcoming European countries that are heavily promoting in the region. And then also worth mentioning as well that yes, the US was number one as the preferred choice of studying because of its academic prestige and because the students are really searching for options that have academic excellence. And also some concerns that they had about choosing the US as a study destination included, or not necessarily the US, but like one parameter that was key for them for determining where to study was related to work experience. And now, of course, you're going to tell me, oh, yeah, we know that in the US, it's very limited the amount of work that a student can do. Correct. That is the reality that we have, but there's other things that you can talk about when you talk to Andean region students. For example, what kind of support your institution offers once you're about to graduate to be ready to enter the professional world. What kind of opportunities do you have for experience in labs, in research, and that sort of environment? So what kind of things do you offer at your institution that are not necessarily just the courses in order to graduate. This is important because in this part of the world, universities don't offer that. And so for students to see that the value is more than just taking courses and taking a degree at a US university, but it's about using all the different services that you can provide is key. Another thing that, of course, Andean students are concerned about is funding. And they are looking for becas. That is no surprise to you, but it's also a lack of understanding of what exactly do you mean with becas, and how much does it actually cost to study in the US, and the wide variety of prices. There's this idea that studying in the US is extremely expensive and you need a scholarship in order to study there. And they don't realize that there are many different options, and there's definitely prices with some financial aid perhaps that are a good option. So for example, today, the advisors in Peru shared information about a kid that got accepted at a university in the US. This was University of Michigan, but the cost of attendance was $86,000. So this was all over the news. And so the message that the students hear and the parents is like $86,000. If I don't have full funding, of course, there's no way I can study there, right? And so it's understanding that there's so many variety of options in the States, and there's prices for every budget that a student might have. So those are the things. Surprisingly, visa concerns were not, or security concerns or things like that, were not ranked very high. In general, they did find that the visa process can be cumbersome, but in the Andean region, that wasn't the main decision-making factor. The decision-making factor is academic excellence and funding. As Rita mentioned, I'm not going to go in every country how many centers we have, but I'm going to tell you that we have 38 advisors and 40 centers in the Andean region. So we are all over the region, not necessarily in just big cities or capitals. We are spread around the countries because we know that there's great students everywhere in these countries, and we want to make sure they have all the support that they need. So let's go in a little bit quickly on each country. So with Bolivia, again, these are numbers for open doors. So a little bit outdated at this point since new numbers are coming out in November, but it's worth mentioning that in Bolivia, we saw a 7.8 increase from the previous year. So Bolivia is definitely growing in sending students to the States and in interest in general. You have here a picture of a local, like in-house fair style that we did in Tarija, in a small city in Bolivia. Lovely city, by the way, winemaking city, if you like wine. And you can see as well here that it's a great marker for undergraduate studies. It's the majority of students right now in Bolivia are studying undergraduate, but there has been an increase as well in graduate students that are interested in studying in the US. So it is definitely a country that it's worth taking some time to visit, especially in Bolivia. What we have noticed is that if you actually come, they know you by name, the students, the parents, and everybody, the advisors. And there's that connection that makes a huge difference, right? Because there's not a lot of institutions that come to Bolivia, the fact that you're making that effort and you are there in giving presence changes the whole game, right? These are kids that are not focused on those really popular brand name universities. They're very much open to exploring all sorts of institutions. In Colombia, we have here perhaps not a great increase from the previous year, but Colombia continues to be in the top 25 sending countries to the States. It's in number 18. So it's a major sending country. And the interesting aspect here that you can see is that in the previous Open Doors report, you saw that there was an increase of over 10% of undergraduate numbers. So there is a growth in undergraduate education. This is perhaps tied to what I was telling you about this political instability that has been happening in the couple of years that we've seen, where parents are really thinking to just sending their kids abroad for now and getting a foreign education instead of staying in Colombia because of this instability. there's been a decrease in graduate students. However, as you can see, in general, it is a very balanced number. So you have number of undergraduates and number of graduate students about the same amount that study in the States. I put here funding opportunities just to mention to you one important funding opportunity that we have, which is called Futuro. This is an NGO that offers loan scholarships for graduate programs abroad. And a lot of these programs, of course, to the US. And it's a very common way for our students to finance their graduate studies. It doesn't finance the whole career, but it definitely helps if the student is getting some sort of tuition waiver or some sort of assistantship. Now, Colfuturo's number of loan scholarships has decreased in this year, but it is also due to this sort of like stalling of the current Colombian government, because the current Colombian government is pretty much just waiting for the period to end. So there is not a lot of Colombian government funding right now for higher education abroad. We would need to wait and see with the new government, whichever side of the government, left, right, comes in, what the priorities will be. But Colfuturo will continue on as a source of funding. Now, Ecuador. You saw here as well, there's a little bit of slow increase, but it's usually a very steady market, Ecuador. It is used to be very, very focused on sending or going to the States for studying. We have seen quite a bit of change. I think of all my countries, Ecuador was the one where we saw how other competitors came in, and really we saw like the flow of students moving to another direction. When it used to be very obvious to the States, now it's not the main choice. And it's really, we need to have presence there and be able to explain to students that this is still a very viable opportunity, that there's funding available, not necessarily becas, but more cost-effective ways of studying in the US to try to bring the interest back in Ecuador. So that's a lot of what we do there, and we do need your help to gain that market. But you can see here that it is also a very undergraduate recruitment heavy market. A lot of students studying in the US are undergraduate students, but also graduate is a steady increase. The 0.8 increase overall is due to, as you can see, there's less students doing OPTs. There's less students doing non-degree programs, but you can see that undergraduate and graduate has continued to grow. So you have new students coming into the pipeline, which is a great, healthy, increase that we will continue to see. So that's Ecuador. And then in Peru, you have entering Peru now the top 25 sending countries. So this is incredible. I've been doing this job for over 10 years. And when I first started as a REACs, there weren't that many Peruvian students that chose the US as a study destination. And the shift has been very obvious. Now it is a number one study destination, the US, and it is in people's minds as an option. And so now they're in the top 25 with a 2.9% increase. Undergraduate, as you can see, a little bit over and heavy and a nice increase. Undergraduate, there was a decrease. And also here is worth mentioning that there used to be funding opportunities for graduate students. And I say used to be because right now the government scholarship is a little bit on pause, again, because of this switch of governments. And so this year, there is not going to be scholarships for students to study abroad, but the program is being in review, and we expect with the new government to have news, hopefully very positive news on this program. The scholarship that Peru used to have was full funding, or if the student got some financial aid, cover the rest for master's and PhD degrees in certain fields. Now, Venezuela is not part of the South American circuit, but I will tell you about Venezuela because I think it's important that you know that Education USA continues to have a very strong presence in Venezuela. We have 6 advisors, 6 centers throughout the country. The environment is changing fast. You probably have seen in the news this year about Venezuela. And of course, now we have a US embassy that's open there, and there is a lot of movement. And as my colleagues at the embassy tells me, everything is moving really fast. So what you need to be is ready to engage strongly with Venezuela, because obviously Venezuelans have always decided to study in the US. So this is a great market that you need to continue to be engaged, because the doors will open soon and you don't want to be missing out, right? So Education USA right now, as you know, no new visas are being issued, so no student visas. But the advisors right now are focusing on keeping a presence and keeping their networks ready and trained as well. So they're working a lot with high school counselors, training them, making sure that the counselors understand about the options of studying in the States. We are doing a lot of career counseling, so working with students and explaining to them the wide variety of options that exist for careers, not just medicine and law. And so this is something that will help us once we're able to do more in-person advising so that they can study in the States. And then we work a lot, of course, with our American Spaces, which is another government program, US government program that promotes English learning. So we work a lot with those students, helping them in their English process, essay writing, and those kind of things. So we are ready. As soon as things completely change, I will be reaching out to all of you, and you can reach out to me with more information about Venezuela. To finish, some last recommendations. If you are thinking of coming to South America without the South America Fair Tour, plan with time. It's a region that receives a lot of visits. And so you need to make sure that the advisors, if you want support from Education USA, and we're always happy to support you, that we have you in our calendars. Visit cities outside the capitals. The capitals are saturated with US institutions visiting. The students tend to be a little bit more picky in where they want to study. They're not very open to many different options, while the cities, secondary cities, have great students with great profiles, and they are interested in just having a US higher education. Understand that beca doesn't mean that they're looking for full need. It's just what they are used to hearing. They used to hearing the news like, oh, this kid got a beca to study at University of Michigan full ride, and so why not? Why can I do that? So we need to explain to them a little bit more. Medicine does not mean medical doctor. Medicine is just because parents and kids don't know what else would bring a good salary, right? So it's your job to help us explain, first of all, health sciences and all the different careers that you can choose that would lead to good jobs. That would make a big difference. It's not that they're set in studying medicine and going to medical school. As in Rita's region, all these countries tend to have a very strong focus on engineering, STEM, and we are pushing a lot of artificial intelligence as one thing that can differentiate us, the US, versus other countries. So those are the focus that you should have in the Andean region as a whole. Of course, business and other degrees are also, arts and things like that are very popular, but a lot of these kids are looking for STEM degrees. And if you are attending NAFSA, our booth is 1401. We will have there Rita and I and some advisors from South America join there. So we really hope that if you are coming to NAFSA, you stop by. And if you are not coming to NAFSA, anyway, you can reach out to us and we can continue the conversation if you want more details.
Thank you, Anna. Very valuable information. So as you can see, South America has so much to offer. So that's why now we want to share with you an overview of the South American Fair Circuit. I'm going to share my screen, Anna.
I'm trying to figure out. There you go. Sorry.
So here, you can see my screen now?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
So here we have the stops, are the same cities that Rita and Anna just mentioned. I think someone has the mic open.
That's me. Sorry, it's my colleague.
Thank you, Anna. So the first stop is Rio de Janeiro. Then we will go to Sao Paulo, Brasilia, then Asunción. That will be in August. Those are our fairs in August. Then in September, we have Buenos Aires, Argentina. Montevideo, Uruguay, Santiago, Chile, Santa Cruz, Bolivia, Lima, Peru, Guayaquil, Ecuador, Quito, Ecuador, and finally Bogotá, Colombia. This circuit is all supported by the US Embassy and the Education USA network, which is very important because people attending these fairs notice that if the fair is supported by the US Embassy, it has like the brand and it's very valuable for them to join us. And before we move forward, I would like to share with you a short 1-minute video with the highlights from last year. Please let me know if you can hear it.
Thank you very much. With great success, we closed the 2025 Education USA South American Fair Circuit. Over 25 days, we visited 12 cities in 9 countries, connecting 82 U.S. universities with more than 23,400 students and their families, more than 4,200 students, counselors, and local partners engaged directly with representatives. Thanks to the extensive media coverage and our strong social media presence, the circuit reached millions across the region. A huge, very huge thank you to all the university reps who joined us and made this possible. Your dedication truly helps students find their best fit to study in the United States of America. We look forward to seeing you all again next year for the 2026 South American Fair Circuit. Until then, keep inspiring and empowering students. Thank you again.
Well, I hope that this video show you the energy and all the impact that we had last year, and hopefully this year we will have even a better edition of our fair. So briefly, what's included in your registration? You will be able to have up to 2 representatives in each of the fairs. This fair, the entire circuit reached more than 23,000 people in the region. And not only during the fair, but also we launch many marketing campaigns through social media, which allows you to have a reach of over millions of students in the entire region. You will be able to meet with highly qualified students and recruit not only undergraduate, but also graduate programs, short-term programs, and English programs. We will be hosting our open fairs in each stop, but also we will have mini fairs at high schools. I will show you an overview of the agenda in a few slides. And we will also have the opportunity to connect with parents, high school counselors, and institutional partners. And by the end of each fair, I will share with each of you the student leads that we have from each fair, not only the people attending the fair, but also those who registered but didn't come to each of the fairs. We're talking about more than 20,000 leads in total. And also we will share with you the high school and local university representatives contacts in case you want to continue the relations with them and explore more possibilities of cooperation with them. And I think this is something that is very valuable, is that we are going to be with you throughout the entire circuit. We will share with you some info packages and support, which includes travel guides, hotel discounts, and assistance during the entire circuit. And before we look into the registration fee, I would like to share with you this story. This is Juan, a student from Bolivia, who attended one of our fairs in Bolivia, and then now he is currently pursuing his studies in the United States. It's a very short video, no more than 1 minute, but this is a success story of how it works, not only in Bolivia, but in the entire circuit, how many stories we can see of students attending the fairs and then enrolling to the institutions. Let me see if it works.
Hello, my name is Juan Saavedra and I am from Santa Cruz, Bolivia. A year ago, I attended a Education USA fair in my city, and that experience changed my life. Thanks to that fair, I met representatives from Emporium State University, asked questions directly, and discovered a computer science program that truly fit my goals. That conversation helped me take the first step. I applied, was admitted, and today finished my first semester in the US. These fairs mattered. They connect motivated students like me with universities looking for global talent. There's so much potential in Bolivia. Students are eager to explore, to grow, and to succeed. I'm living proof of what can happen when opportunity meets guidance. I truly believe that more students from my country could follow this path if given the chance.
Okay, so this is something that happens not only in Bolivia, as I just mentioned, but we have heard of many reps that join our fairs and then they let us know that they have new enrollments, not only from the open fairs that we host, but also from the mini fairs at high school that we visit. Here we have the registration fee per stop for cities for Rio de Janeiro, Sao Paulo, Brasilia, Asunción, Buenos Aires, Montevideo, Santiago, Lima, and Bogotá. Each of these stops is the fee is $1,755. And for Santa Cruz, Quito, and Guayaquil, it is $1,170. Registrations are open already in the Education USA Fair portal. I think I already shared this information with all of you, and you'll be able to register. It's not mandatory to register all the cities. You can choose one or more or any amount of cities that you want to visit, but it's already open. So if you want to go directly to the portal, you can do it. Or if you want more information, you can reach out and we will share more information with you. So now, before we move forward, this is the overall tentative schedule for this year. As just mentioned, we will be having mini fairs, school visits, university visits, but the agenda changes. That depends on each stop. We will be traveling around 4 weeks for all the 12 cities in 9 countries. Some cities will have networking events, cultural events, networking cocktails, school visits. I think the agenda changes a lot, but I'm not going deeper into this agenda because we have prepared for all of you a series of 2 webinars for next month, specifically to present each of the cities that we will have in this circuit. Each of our city coordinators will be showing or will be sharing with you all the specific agenda for each stop, also some market insights, student trends, and recruitment opportunities across the circuit, and also how you can collaborate with each Education USA center in each stop. So if you're thinking about joining us or recruit students from Brazil, Paraguay, Argentina, or Uruguay, you are invited to join us in our next webinar. It will be held in Tuesday, June 16th at noon, just as today. And we will also have a second webinar featuring Chile, Bolivia, Peru, Ecuador, and Colombia as well. Each city coordinator will be presenting each stop, and this will be held on June 23rd, also at noon. Another invitation is to join us in NAFSA, as Anna mentioned and Rita mentioned before. They will be there sharing information about our circuit in case you have any questions related to the circuit. And the last invitation is to join us in our social media. We have our Instagram account, we have LinkedIn account as well, where we're posting valuable information about our markets, numbers from the open doors as well, and everything that we're doing in each stop. From here, I would like to highlight that we have a Google site for the Southern Fair. In this Google site, you will find all the information for each city if you need it. I think somebody in the chat asked about which are the states that receive the most Colombian students. So all this information, you can check this information here. We have stats from each stop from Open Doors. We also have some videos from each stop that we will be updating to this year's edition. We also have the breakdown of the students, just like Rita and Anna shared with you a few minutes ago. You will see numbers of people interested in undergraduate, graduate, the states that they received the most students from that nationality. And we also have the impact of our fairs. Here you will have access to the full report from previous years, where you will be able to see the agenda that we had, the numbers, the reach that we have in social media, and also the attendees for each stop. And finally, here you will have the city coordinator's contact info in case you want to reach out to them with any question. you are more than invited to join this, to visit this Google site to have more information about the entire circuit and to reach out in case you have more questions. Email is southernfair@educationusa.org. And that's all the information regarding the Southern Fair. I have shared all of this information through email, but if you want to reach out to get more information, do not hesitate. We're able here to join us and help us, and also to meet you in NAFSA or in the following webinars that we will be hosting. So that's it about the circuit. I think there are questions.
I think, Vicky, just make sure, sorry, that when you send the recording, you highlight the social media links again, so that they know where to go. Yeah.
Yes, I already shared it here, but I will also share it through the email.
And I saw some questions asking for list of universities that will be from our countries at NAFSA. So I just shared the Google site that Anna and I and Giselle did for NAFSA. And if you click in there, you're going to see a tab where you're going to be able to go and see the list of international universities from each of our countries that are present at NAFSA. And I think some of you are asking for emails of advisors. Feel free to reach out to the REACs. If you're targeting certain cities or countries, we'll be happy to put you in touch. And I think it would be even better, if we send an email and put you in touch by email. So, um, let me put it this way. I have 50 advisors in Brazil. Do you want 50 advisors from Brazil, or do you want to target cities, right? So we'll be happy to work with you one-on-one. Any other questions that we didn't answer? Let me check. And thank you. We're just hearing about the organization for South America. So thank you for that. We're trying to make your lives easier. Any other questions?
Well, thank you for joining us. And as Vicky mentioned, we will have follow-up webinars to really dig a little bit deeper into each country and details about the stops as well. So make sure to join those sessions as well, although they will be recorded. And if you want follow-ups with Rita and I, and you're not going to NAFSA, please reach out as well. And we're happy to talk to you a little bit more about any questions, concerns that you might have about the region.
And safe travels to everybody if you're attending NAFSA this year. Yay, Orlando, here we go.